All right, all you devils, how's it going? Here we are, the 4th of December. It's a little after noon for me here in Austin, and we'll fire up a look here at Bitcoin. Now, I keep starting here because it's a good reference point. This is the 3-day Bitstamp. Just kind of stripped it bare here to have a look-see. Now, so, of course, it's not terribly surprising that we're running into this resistance up here at these prior highs. And it's being pretty well represented by just the price action here. I mean, this is quite a bit of wick rejection that we're seeing here. So, you know, a point of caution that we could be getting a little top heavy here. We've had this one, it's not insignificant retracement here, but it could be we're getting a little top heavy here. So this is where, perhaps breaking into the count here can be helpful to us. But this is to be noted. Now, I mean, you really got quite the squeeze box here because you could really, this rejection here gives us a pretty good base of support. And then, if you bring this back to where it was, kind of in a tight box here. So I don't know we can draw much other than this is troublesome here. It's just not in terms of a trend change, but just in terms of the swing from this pivot low here, perhaps running out of steam. Just looking for some tells from the indicators here. We've looked at this repeatedly, right? That this is, that's an extreme for the RSI to get up here, right? So it's not that it can't stay up here. We've seen it before, but it's a bit of a warning shot across the bow here. And then now add the wick rejection. This potentially, now, as far as I'm concerned, this is good news. We want the pullback. I know, right? It goes counter to if you're long, you just want it to keep going. But the pullback is healthy. It would give us an opportunity. Well, certainly those that are not that either are not long or as long as they'd like to be is going to give you a better entry point here than trying to buy up here at the all-time highs. So it's not bad news here. I'm kind of rooting for it myself. I'd like to see it come back down a little bit here. Now let's just with that duly noted here, and the geometry here is I'm just. Here's 50% of the channel, and then I just got a sliding parallel up here that seems to be influencing the market, at least at this point. So with that noted, I'm going to start with the more conservative of the two Elliott counts here to see if that can give us any guidance. Now, this remains the question mark, if you will, just in terms of traditional Elliott because it's so shallow. So it has you to consistently come back here looking for alternates. Could this be something other than a 1-2? Could this, for example, could this be a 3-4? And we're up now. We've completed the 5, and then the count. So we would essentially we'd have a completed impulse here. Now that would imply a bigger retracement. I'm not ready to go there yet because the subdivision off the low here remains intact here and fairly consistent with regards to completing something up here. Now, what are we completing? Right, it remains the question. So the more conservative would be that we've completed the 3 off of this. Now, it's certainly possible, right? And the subdivision supports it. So if it's 1, we've looked at this, right? Most of you, I'm sure, have all done this. Well, we're far enough, right? We're past the 100. I find myself struggling a little bit to think that in what potentially now is the great bull market of, well, potentially of all time, but certainly of what perhaps we could forecast out over the next 5-10 years. We're only going to do, what is that, let's just call it between the 100 and the 1272 on the 3rd. Maybe, right? So this we'd be thus, right, if you go with that premise here that this is going to be a monstrous bull run here, we would just be completing the 1 wave up here at 23. Right? That would imply that now, if we're just going to think about a 50, now we're back to 12.5, and then off we go again. Certainly, you got to consider that as an option. So just looking at this, there's a few things to note here. One is how Bitcoin is just incredibly responsive to the algo that we talk about here, the measured move algo, where we work to a 50 or a golden zone. It's absolutely astonishing how consistently Bitcoin is responsive there. So let's go down to a 1 here. Virtually every pivot, every pullback, is either a 50 or a golden zone. And it starts with the big one. So if you were looking at this and you were saying, okay, well, what am I going to pull from? Well, the last swing low here, right, where we get something that completes here. Now, in this case, it looks like we're getting the third into the 4, kind of remains to be seen, but that's what it looks like right now. So the question, right, and you guys hear me say this all the time. We're going down, we're going down, we're going down. Why do we stop there? Right, why there? Why a double bottom there? I got to think most of you have done this, right? Let's get the right tool on there. I mean, that's a double bottom directly into the golden zone. If you're of the view that that's just coincidental, I don't know that I can help you. I just assure you it's not. So from here to double bottom into the golden zone, now you look up here and we're not there yet. So if we're going to get a new high here, we're going to go up and complete that. Where the hell are we in this count, right? If this, I'm getting so much better at those. If we're going to get up here, right? Elliott aside, just a swing, golden zone, target. It's going to distort the count even further. So it makes you a little suspect of this. So something doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't fit the way you kind of would be expecting it to. Now, of course, again, as I've said many times, right, don't expect Elliott to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect to be useful. But here, it has you just pausing a little bit. It kind of feeds into the whole idea that we want a more significant retracement. It certainly would be advantageous to Elliotticians so we can get a feel for where we are in the count, because this could be counted multiple ways now, which is kind of annoying, right? And that's the love it or hate it in Elliott. But this is where you have to use some additional tools up here. What else, right? If the Elliott is leaving question marks, right? Eventually the Elliott will clarify, right? It's a little bit, it's like smoke, right? You can see it, but you can't quite grab it until we get far enough down the road here that we can work back and say, oh, okay, it was a 2, not a 4. You can work backwards once we've got it completed, but while we're in the midst of it, it's continually just your best guesstimate as to where we are based on what we've got to work with prior to this. So that's what we're doing. We're not trying to predict the future so much as look for those probability zones. So even going down to a 15 to try and dig into this count and say, okay, could this be my 3? Well, coming off of this, the subdivision really does play, right? So you can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This looks very 4-ish. Oh, Jesus, I think this, let's see. So I think even here, right, this was, all right, so we get a double at the 38. We get that target here. And then we go up here. Now we're way through here, but that's why you're back pulling from the prior dominant low, right? It's dominant to dominant. It double bottom here into the golden zone, but we not to that target yet. So you might look here and say, okay, well, God, that sure as hell doesn't look like an ABC. It's not what we'd hope to see here, so we'd have some conviction. Now Bitcoin often, right? That's what we want to see. But Bitcoin is often troublesome to the Elliottician. Right? It looks like you'd have to do it this way, as an AB. Pick your low here. If we're stuck with this as an ABC, and even that with a double bottom makes it a little. This is actually the lower low right here. Do we have to live with that? We might, right? So if this is AB, and we got to live with this very skinny C, right? That would incline you to think more 4 than 2 because of how quickly, right? See, so it takes. Shit, what is that? Not even a day, not even 24 hours of this 4. Now, you look back to the 2 and go, okay, well, it looks quite distorted here, but this was awful short, sharp. Right? We're not getting the kind of traditional Elliott you'd hope for again. So but that doesn't. I'm not suggesting you throw out the Elliott here. I'm just saying you got to lean a little bit on some other tools here. So coming off of the double bottom, let's just call it a double bottom, right? Now, Bitcoin's not notorious for wicked double bottoms here, but let's bring this down here. But there we sit. So truncation here, hard to say, right? It sure looks like you're instinctively, as an Elliottician, your first thought is, oh, it's got to be an A wave, right? Because that looks more like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, even with a double bottom 5. So I know most of the Elliott, well, I shouldn't say this. My premise is that most are going to look and think, okay, well, that's not the correction. So it's got to be A, B, C. We're going to do something like that. The problem with that is that it's just as difficult here because look what we do up here. We go into a double top. So you're kind of left scratching your head going, well, okay, did we finish up here? Well, can we count it out? Well, from here, looks like we can. 1, 2, you got to kind of pick your 3. It looks like maybe 3, 4. Iffy here, right? So is that the 5? And then we're going A, B, C here, and we've done something here. Well, then you'd be thinking, okay, wait a minute, maybe we're not done yet. Let's just push this off and say, what are the other possibilities here? And hopefully this leads us to a decision here that would be meaningful. But just going through this thought process, well, shit, essentially that's all I'm doing is going through the same thought process that I go through. And I make some assumptions that you guys are going through similar challenges here. So if we look here and say, well, could it be this, right? Is this the 3? Oh, pardon me. Can't. If this is for would have to be right here, right? So if this is the completion of it, did we complete the 5 here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's a little skinny, but I swear to God, if you go down there, you can dig it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ending diagonal. It fits, right? So you can get that to work without doing just a brutal Elliott shuffle. You can get, here's the ABC, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if, Jesus, if I'm not mistaken, that looks, right? So here's our low. All right, here's the golden zone. It looks like perhaps a front run. We just ran out of steam here on the way to that target. Perhaps it's a front run. Well, you'd assume it was because look at as we break the pivot here, and that's tied to the pivot off to the left here. But as we break this, so here's a classic. Jesus, it's like somebody just got absolutely butt raped there. Look what happens here. This is, again, I try and preach this to you guys. Look, I promise you somebody bought that, right? They're buying the breakout. So look what happens to that breakout buyer. So it makes you think, okay, well then we completed something here because this is not just, circumstantial. Oh, we've got a little pop here. Something changed here. This is change of character. So if we complete the 5 hip here, this is a radical change, right? So just looking at all the way up. Now something happened there, right? But then now we're right back to, well, why does it stop there, right? You're looking left, you're going, what? What could it have been? Why does it stop there? Right now we're right back to here, and it looks like it's a 50. Get this off of here. Down. Why there? Is it this? Right? Is it the structure? Maybe it's up a pivot. Right, but it looks like that's the B. Maybe it right there. I mean, could be. Right, so now we get a little combination. Okay, well, here's a prior pivot of resistance. Here's a 50. Right, that would imply that we've got, right, this. Well, again, we don't have to wonder. We know that's an algorithm. They've got a target up here. They're going to stay with it. Now, it could come down here, same target. Where are we? If that's completed up here, if it's 1, 2, 3, this is our 4, 5, and then we're just starting here, well, we completed something. Now that would suggest that if this is 3, 4, 5, well, now we got let's see, maybe we get to 2 hour. What did we just complete there? That kind of brings you back to, did we complete the 3 there? Now we're right back to where I started, which is greatest bull market in our lifetime. We're going to complete the 3rd, just past the 100. Now maybe, right, you kind of put that in the context of, okay, we're hitting the prior all-time high, so maybe, right, we just run out of juice there. I don't think so. So I'm giving you the more conservative of the 2 here, and then we'll look at the alternate. But you've got to maintain something like this, just so you're not completely lost if we start to come down here a little bit harder. So if we're going to come down, all right, so we know there's a 50 here, so there's an algorithm there. But if we're going to come down lower on the idea that we're going to get a more traditional correction, so we perhaps, maybe we end up with something like that, right? Maybe we get an expanded B, and therein would be a true Elliott shuffle because you're going to squeeze an ABC into that, right? That's what you're going to be forced to do. Go A, B, Fuck, I guess you could do it, right? So A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do it. It's, you know, you hate doing that, right? So what you want is that's what you have confidence in. When you're doing this, it's like, God, how much conviction do I have in that is my ABC? You know, that's where just some experience here. And then additionally, what else is here that I can use? Right? If the Elliott is suspect, what else is here? Well, shit, I mean, here's a nice looking channel on this. We're sitting at the midline. We've just tagged a 50. So look, okay, what did we just do? Why are we stopping here? Golden zone. Right, it's just one after the next, right? It's just nonstop, right? Every pivot, it's just one after the next, after the next. It's so algo driven. I mean, I've shown it so many times, I feel kind of silly just showing it over and over again. But again, it's with lots of new members and new people viewing on YouTube. So just driving this home so that you know what always, right? If there's ever a pullback, this should be the first thing you're looking at. Very first thing. Is it a 50 or is it a golden zone? And if it breaks that, then that's telling you something. Right now, every one of these pivots is staying consistent with the buy-side algo. Just one after this one, after this one, after this one, after this one. Look, here's a golden zone. Here's a 50. Here's another golden zone. It's just one after the next. So we look here and say, okay, well, if that guy's going to go get his target, where's he going? I know this gets hard to follow, but I'm kind of doing it, and I know I move quickly here for those of you who knew this. Partly because many of you, I know members will all have done this, right? So, but I want you to kind of get this reinforced in your mind so that every time you see a pivot, the first question out of your mouth should be, why does it stop here? Or perhaps first thought in your head, why here? Why? Is it structure? Is there something there I don't see? Is it something tied to an indicator? Is it RSI at 93? If we start to retrace, why do we stop there? And if we do stop right at a golden zone, what would you anticipate is likely to come next? Well, we know they're going to stay long until they get that target, or they change, right? So the sell side takes over. So if they break here, well then you're looking for the next 50 golden zone for that. It's just one after the other after the other. It's just, as I've said this many times, this is the DNA of the market. This is how the market moves. It's not why it moves, it's how it moves. Difference. Okay, so here I'm kind of rambling. So if that's the 3, because we can complete this, right? 3, 4. That's not the 5 I would have hoped for. I suppose the other alternative is that if it's 3, 4, this could be one of the 5, but now we're starting to distort quite a bit from, if I can get this all back in here. Already the 1, 2 to the 3 is pretty extreme, right? We're well past, right? You can just see, right? We're well past the 2, 6, 1, 8. So right here, you wanted to put the 3 here. But that's not deep enough. So you got to live with the hyperextension here. And it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the internal impulse is all clean from the 1, 2 here. 1, 2, it doesn't really matter. 3, 4, 5 gets you to the 3 here. It's mighty abrupt, right? But this one to this one, now we're done. Okay, so what else is, what's an alternate? What else could be here that I'm missing? What am I not seeing? These are the kind of questions you got to ask yourself over and over again. What am I missing? What could be at play here that I haven't thought about? Well, right now, just looking at us here, I'm kind of trying to suggest the simplicity of put some geometry on it, look for the next algo pull, and then anticipate that until that algo breaks, you just trade them till they fail. So right now, it says I just went through here. It's just one after the next, after the next, after the next. So buy-side algo fully in control. Until there's a change of that character, you stay long, or your bias is long. Well, shit. Even just technical, regardless of your long-term views of Bitcoin, here the technical bias remains up as every retracement has been technical. Buy-side algo fully in control. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, this seems less likely here. That we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to go 1, 2 into an extended 5th. Doesn't seem likely. This looks like it's in the process of trying to complete, but we need, so for example, we need to break this channel. Even if you, let's take that off. Something has to change the character here for us to get a deeper retracement. This also, I mean, it looks like it's self-contained, right? Even if you just use a regression channel. This is all kind of like self-contained. I want that to break. I want this to come down so we can get a better look at where we are. That's, we're all kind of, what does that put us, 14, something like that here? Do we have enough here? Maybe, right? The little structure here would give us something to work with. So now we go, okay, I know right where we are. I know right what to anticipate, not what's going to happen in the future, but I know what I can anticipate off of that. Because now I have a pattern I recognize and I know, right? So let's just put it together. Right, if this is the 2 and if that's the 3, well, look here. Right, now could be shallow here. We've got enough of a basis here. But if we come right to the 38, okay, I know where I am. Right now, not so sure. Other than this looks like it's all one impulse here. So if we're going to come down and get on the other side of that, you know, that, see if you look here, so you would have to pull it. So you can't really make that work because this is the 1, 2. So this is what I'm saying looks all self-contained. This move here. So what's the other option here? If it's not 1, 2, 3, the alternate would be that it's 1, 2, 1, seeking the 2, right? So this would, again, the assumption that this is a completed something, right? Whether it's 3 or 1. We've completed an impulse here. So is it 3 or is it 2? Well, so let's look at the alternate. How am I doing? There's 20 minutes. Shit, didn't mean to go that long. Okay, so let's look at the more bullish, which is what we've looked at prior to today, in that this was 1, 2, 1, seeking the 2, right? We're seeking the 2. Well, if that's the case, you know, here would be the ideal location. We'd come back down here to 14.8. So this would be center of that channel. Here's the 50. Call it just round it to 15. Can we get there? Can we get this to play? So this would be 1. All right. Now, the only way this is going to work is if this is, we'd have to go A, where this would be an expanded B. We'd be coming down here for the C. Right, so already we're looking for something, you know, atypical, right? It's not what you'd choose if you had to pick here what this correction is going to look like. But again, back to wick rejections on the 3-day, it looks like we're a little top heavy here. Let's go down to an hourly, see if we can break into this subdivision. All right, so with that established as a, I mean, for those of you that can tolerate without freaking out the retracement here, which should bring it down to 15 from pushing 20. So, you know, if it goes down 5 grand, people, oh shit, the top's in, the bull run's over, right? All it would be is just what I would tell you would be the buy of your lifetime. But we're a long way from it yet. So how can we get there? Well, you know, right off the bat, you know, this is back to where we were before. This can be completed as an impulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can complete it. So now we're kind of, you know, force fitting an ABC. All right, but as I said, it can be done. So let's take this off and consider this as the alternate here. Let's get all of this. So, well, that would be your A. So we'd have to do it this way. So this would be A, B, C. All right, we've got to do it that way. There's no other way to get that to work. Well, I shouldn't say that. But as far as I see it, I don't see another way for that to count. So then you'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Same way we were completing the impulse. We're just using the internal 1, 2. Shit, it wouldn't matter. You could do 1, 2, 3, 4, extension in the 5th. You could do it a couple of different ways, but this has to come lower, right? If this is the 1, you'd prefer that this not be the 2 because it's another ultra shallow 2, which it kind of brings back the challenge here of an unusually shallow correction for a move this significant. Now, maybe because it's so significant, the market just is not going to correct. But if this is the 2 here, and we're pulling, and this is the 1, and we're in an expanded B, and we're only going to get, I'm going to show you the subdivision here, get us to the 23. So we're going to go just beyond the 23 here to just beyond the 23 here in a truncate, oh, pardon me, in a running flat with an expanded B wave. So we'd be looking at this. And we're going to finish here and then keep going off into our 3. Seems less likely. Again, it's not that it's impossible. It just seems less likely. So you're kind of left here going, well, I know for damn sure I don't want to buy a breakout there. I would encourage you to think twice about buying the little breakouts there. What we want, right, is always what we want. Always swing internal retracement that goes in external. So we want this to come down a little deeper. So the idea being that this is the swing low, we want an internal that goes external. So how are we going to get there? Well, let's go back. Can we do it in an hour? No, let's go to a 15. All right, so let's look at that. If this is A, B, and we're going to have to live with this as our C, well, coming straight off the chute, right, here's the breakout guy who just got bent over, right? Here's weak longs just get crushed, right? You see it come across. You guys follow there's one of them. I remember it's on Twitter, but it will show you all the liquidations. So it'll come across all the forced liquidations when the market sells off, right? So weak hands are over levered, get just blown right out here, and then immediately goes back, right? Because again, why does it stop there? We know that's a golden zone. So come up, okay, A, okay, I could see possibly here's an A. Here's another A, B, C. Okay, I kind of got where we are. Well, it looks like there's a diagonal getting started here, but this would have to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, well, 5. I didn't draw it very well. Maybe a bigger 3, right? Something like that. It's sending us down here towards that bigger 50. Well, let's take a look at it. If that's A, that's B. Well, let's do a little projecting here. So we got two ABCs here. So this would be, I better do this on a larger degree. Let's do A, B, and we'd be looking for a C here. Now let's, here, I'll put it in green, and let's go to, here. Let's take it up so we don't lose track of it. To minuet, just so we can see it. Okay, A coming off the high, right? So here's our high. A, B, C, right? We're working on the expanded B. I don't want a running flat here with an expanded B. I'd rather have us take out this low because then I know where I am. A, B, C into a B. Now, if we go in, look at that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that works. 1, 2. Well, here's 1 of the third, 2, 3, overlap. So got to be a diagonal, which would play with either a 1 or an A. Oh, I suppose we could have a double zigzag here. So, but right now, there's no reason to think that other than, okay, what do I have here? I've got a diagonal going in. Well, what am I looking for here? So why does it stop there? Well, you could say, oh, it ran into the 233. In a diagonal, what is it we're always looking for, right? So pull it here. Let's get this dialed in there. All right, so here would be the C of the B right here. Pull that back out. Okay, so 1, 2 looks like A, B, C, right? Because you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I can see A, B. Here's a clear impulse. But now I come back so far, I overlap the 1 of what that would have been, so it has to be a diagonal. So I got to put this right here and say, okay, well, here's a, right, it's not 50 to the tick, but we got just past the 50. We run into this structure here. We hit the 233. Now it looks like it wants to come down and finish, right? But even though we're getting, so that could be 1, 2. Right, so you can already kind of see it. You can see it coming together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Now, where would we be? Doesn't quite make sense, does it? You want this to go deeper. So in terms of the next really outstanding buy opportunity, we need a deeper correction here to really get, like, ultra aggressive here. Right now, I'm a little hesitant to be buying aggressively up here. I mean, the other thought is you just kind of pull it all across and go, oh, this looks like a whole lot of just congestion up here at these highs. Let's see if I can bring this over here. Let's see, let's go to a 30. It looks like indecision here. I want this down here. So the only way that happens, right, with an Elliott hat on, is we got to get something like that. Now this is hardcore, right? Don't let that pass you by if we get that opportunity. But that could be wishful thinking. It could be unusual, right? The hopium is that we fall $5,000 because the opportunity there. If not, we're just gonna if we do this, right? So all of this is gonna be a waste of 30 minutes of your time. But hopefully, right, the thought process is useful, because if we just carry on here, now we got to reconsider the whole thing. if we're going to go up here and get some of these targets, because we know there are algos that are right here with higher targets, if we carry on, right, over the weekend, we go up and we get, shit, doesn't have to be that high, but that would be well past the old highs. If we get this kind of run, right, you just never know going into the weekend, right, because what's going to happen. But if we get something like that, now we don't have it yet, so I'm not going to, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, it would imply that this is not the one. Something else is happening, right? Because that would be one, the depth of the correction would be abnormally shallow. Well, shit, right? We said that about the last two, but that would give you pause. If this was going to be 1, 2 at this degree, and then we were going to get again 1, 2, yet again, it just, if anything could do it, it would be Bitcoin to defy the more traditional retracement schedule that you'd anticipate in this kind of a monster bull run. But if anything could do it, it'd be Bitcoin. So if we're back here next Friday and we've got new highs, well, we'll do the same thing. We'll work through backwards. Okay, what does that leave? Because there's only so many things. If we go up here and we break this and we get up a new high, there's only so many things left. All right, this likely had to be 3, 4. Now we're going into the 1, 2, 3, 4, starting up on the 5. So until then, there's not a trade here that I can give you that I would be comfortable recommending. I wouldn't take it, so I'm certainly not going to recommend to you guys to take it. The things that I recommend for people that are not trying to really hyper-analyze this as we are, the simple answer to Bitcoin is set it up on an auto buy schedule. So you're buying X amount every week or month or whatever your budget would allow, regardless of price. That's the simplest thing to do with Bitcoin. So someone asks you what to do with Bitcoin, just tell them, get on the Cash App or whatever you use and just set an auto buy, right? Buy X dollar, again, whatever you can afford, every week for the next 5 years. And you can thank me later, or they'll thank you 5 years from now. Otherwise, you're looking for the right timing to get into this where you're not going to be, vulnerable to kind of the leverage blowout. I always suggest that you don't, unless you're day trading, that you don't get into bigger positions here with leverage, right? Why put yourself in a position to where something like this, forces you out of the market? $5,000 lower, and that's the hopium. That's a switch. All right, guys, I could just ramble on here, but I think there's, other than the thought process here, so hopefully there's some value add here that you guys can kind of go through that same process, and perhaps you do. But for the new members or new viewers on YouTube, it'll give you a little bit of this is the thought process of how to go about it. We'll wait and see, right? We'll see what how this develops here, because right now, the only thing that we can say for sure is we got a swing, we got a technical retracement, we got a target. Then we have another swing with a technical retracement with another target. Until that pattern breaks and we get some lower lows here, I think you got to be cautious up here, and I would take you all the way back to this. Right? We got to be a little bit cautious given all that wick rejection there. This makes you pause a little bit. Bring it down a little bit lower. Game on. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Okay, talk to you later.